So the day I went off to boot camp, oh man, this would be a day I'll never forget. So my sister and my aunt, they rode with me because the MEP station, which is called the Military Entry Processing Center, I think it's in Tampa, Florida, which is about an hour away from where I'm from in Orlando, Florida. So prior to going to the MEP station, we went and seen some of my family in Clearwater, Florida. I went to my Uncle Charles' house and seen my Aunt Kathy and my cousins, and we went and seen them. And then my aunt and my sister, they seen me off and dropped me off at the hotel. They just gave me some random address at some hotel in Tampa, and they dropped me off at the hotel. So what they do is they group you up with a group of other strangers who you don't know, and they drop you off at the hotel, and from there they wake you up the next morning and they take you all off to the MEP station and get you processed and ready for you to go off to boot camp. So what I didn't know at the time, all the stuff that I had already did, all the paperwork I had already signed, technically when you're in the delayed entry program, you're still not in the military. It's not until that day that you go off to MEPS that you actually swear in to make it official, and you go through and do your medical clearance and all those things to make sure you're good to go, because anything could have changed or happened, over the course of that time. So they did the whole physical again and, went through the gamut of asking you all these different questions. And then right before it was time to go, the guy was like, we have a problem, something about your test is inaccurate. So I'm like, well, what do you mean? He was like, well, your ASVAB scores are invalid. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He was like, well, when you took the test, technically you were ineligible. You weren't old enough, and they didn't get the proper signatures for you to take the test. So all your scores that made you eligible for your job is out the window. So I'm just like for real, bro? Like, are you kidding me? So they was like, no worry, we're gonna have you take the test right here, at the station and see where you place. So they set me down at the computer, took me along, had me take the test again. For some reason, my scores was way lower than my initial ASVAB score when I had took it at with the recruiter 6 months prior, but it really didn't matter because it was still high enough for me to go into my job that they had picked for me as a UT. So at the last minute, they got my scores ready, got my paperwork together, and they put me in the van with everybody else to go to the airport to fly to Tampa. So we went to the airport. Let me go back and emphasize this part. Now, prior to this, I had never been on an airplane before. I had never really been to the airport besides maybe dropping somebody off in the past. And so that was all new to me just in itself, going on the airplane, and I was just wild by that. So got on the airplane, flew to Great Lakes, Illinois. That's where boot camp is for the entire Navy. So we landed at the airport, and everybody that flew with me, they took us to the USO office in the airport in Great Lakes. So we're all sitting around in the USO office eating snacks and stuff, not knowing what's coming. So all of a sudden, what I know them to be now, RDCs and different people that work for the boot camp, they came in the room and they went to yelling at us from the jump. Get up, get your bags. So right there in the airport, they got us all in single file line, and, they talking to us crazy, and they was like, get on the bus. And when we got on the bus, they was like, it's about 45 minutes to get to the boot camp, so be quiet, shut up. We don't want to hear no talking, just watch a video. So I'm sitting there thinking like, bro, like, man, what did I get myself into? So sitting there watching the video, the video was just kind of giving you background of, boot camp and, what it consists of and so forth. So by the time we pulled up the boot camp, it was just like the scene of a movie, 3 or 4 RDCs, they just yelling at you, talking crazy, get off the bus, get off the bus. So, they have you come out in groups and you standing there and they doing this drill, they messing with you, have you drop your seat bag, pick it up, drop your luggage, pick it up. So it's kind of like a cattle herd because they just moving you in groups, and it's chaos, but you don't know it at the time. It's organized chaos, but they're constantly just yelling at you and they move you along in groups. So one of the first things they do when you get to boot camp is they take a piss test. So they was like, hey, let's just weed it out right now. You know what I'm saying? And it take a couple weeks for the results to come back, but they want you to take a piss test, right then and there. So you stand in line for hours. That's right then and there. They start setting the tone that you about to be hurry up. We got a saying called hurry up and wait. And you doing a whole lot of hurry up and wait, and you just standing around. So we standing in line for hours, and we got to take this piss test. So imagine being in a big, large room, but 100 people in there, no privacy. It ain't like you in no stall. You just really standing there in single file line. And when you get to the front of the line, you just piss in the cup. So, your penis, everything is just out. Your person is standing right in front of you with the cup in your hand, making sure that, you're peeing in this cup and everything's good to go. So as I'm standing in line, it was a guy in front of me. And I don't remember his name, for store purposes, let's just say his name is Jones. So they was like, Jones, hey, you dickhead. And the guy in front of me, he said, boom, dude just fainted right there in my face. So I'm like, oh, man, it's crazy. I'm talking about that was my first time seeing somebody literally faint. Like, this dude was this nervous. This dude fainted in my face. So I'm just looking like, oh, okay, what do you want me to do? So I just stepped to the side and, they go up next and I go up there and I pee. But of course, it's my first time peeing in front of somebody. So I got stage fright. So I'm standing there for minutes and they was like, well, get you a canteen, some water, that famous canteen they give you, which I'm going to talk about that. And they have you just chugging water and then you just going in circles and walking, marching in circles until you're ready to pee. So the group that I was supposed to go with, they was actually done and all of them went. So I wound up coming behind with another group once I finally peed and I got grouped up with them. And you don't know it at the time, but the people that you come in with, they put you together in what's called the divisions. Your division is the group that you're going to be with in boot camp. So after you pee, they have you go to another room and they make you take off all your civilian clothes and all that crap you brought with you and put it in the bag. And literally, they say, it's a saying, they say, if the Navy wanted you to have it, they would issue it to you in a sea bag. And they live by that. Now, this was 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure a lot of things have changed, but they issue you everything you need right then and there from the jump, from drawers to underwears to socks, and they give you these sweatsuits that we had to wear. And I didn't know it at the time, but we was going to be in this same sweatsuit for like a whole week, marching around doing everything we need to do. And what you don't know and what they don't tell you, that first week of boot camp don't even count. It's called P days, which stands for processing days. They're just getting you acclimated and ready for you to get processed into boot camp. So after they hand us all our stuff, put us in our sweats, then they march you from the processing center to your what they call is the ship, which is the building that you're going to be living in, which is on the other side of the base. So in the distance, I'm going to say probably like a good mile or so, you know what I'm saying? So they put us in ranks, they marching us, and we carrying this big sea bag on our back with all this stuff on it to our division, and they take us there, and it's a big room with like 50 beds, bunk beds. So you literally like 50 guys in this one room. So they talking to you crazy, but they ain't really going in too much because you don't know it at the time that technically they can't go in too much on you because you still, what's called your processing days. You're not a recruit yet. So they still kind of, yelling at you, but not fully going in with baby gloves. So that next week or so, they take you to medical, dental, they giving you shots, they checking you for everything under the sun. And they give you a tetanus shot in the butt just in case you coming in there with everything. They say, hey, you ain't fit to spread it. We're going to make sure by the time you leave here, you clean and good to go. And it's like an assembly line of shots. Like you literally take 13 shots, if I can remember, that they give you. And you standing in line with groups of 3 people. And you standing up, shot in the left arm, shot in the right arm. Go to the next 2 people, shot in the left arm, right arm. Shot in the left arm, right arm. And then that last 13 shot, you bend over and they give you a shot in your butt. So once you do all that, they start calling a couple names. And I noticed it was about 10 of us that they pulled to the side. And they was like, hey, we need y'all to go to another room. So I'm like, what's going on? So they told us, hey, we want to let y'all guys know that some of y'all was positive for sickle cell, and the rest of y'all was positive for a trait called G6PD. So I'm like, what the hell is G6PD? So they explain it, which is a rare blood disorder that's inherited from one of your parents. So, I don't know which one of my parents I got it from, but I found out I was G6PD. And basically what it means in boot camp, you have to wear these red dog tags around you at every time, all the time, because you're a high risk, meaning that if you're not careful, you can pass out, and you can be depleted of oxygen and so forth. So they let all the other RDCs and recruits know to keep a good eye on you and make sure that you're also able to hydrate. So for me, I had G6PD, but some of the other guys had sickle cell, which is a much more dangerous trait to have. And I knew some guys that actually wound up getting kicked out at the end that didn't make it all the way through. So after that, they let you go back to your group. And, now I'm just sitting here thinking like, what the hell is G6PD? I hope I'm okay, but, I'm not going to let it handicap me or stop me from going through the process. So by the time you go through medical and dental and they get you cleared, and for dental, most people that's there, they pull all your wisdom teeth. So for me, I don't remember how I slipped through the cracks, but I'll say about a good 50% of the guys that I was with, they wound up getting their wisdom teeth pulled right there at boot camp, but they didn't do it for me. Now also, I forgot to mention, I had 6 gold teeth in my mouth at the bottom that I had when I went in. So now, that kind of thing is frowned upon. They're not going to let it happen, but hey, I slipped through the cracks, and they let me in. So once they cleared you and they considered you fit for full duty, oh man, the games were on from there. I never forget it. In each division, they have 3 RDCs. They usually have a E6, a E5, possibly 2 E6, and they have a chief that's in charge. And the E6 and the E5, they were the good cop, bad cop. And the E6, I never forget this dude to this day. This dude was an asshole. I'm talking about from day one to getting on the bus. He never let up. Now the E5 dude, he was cool. He was the asshole in the beginning, but towards halfway through, he eased up and became cooler. But it was definitely a ride. So they started giving you different tasks. You have to start learning all these different things. Like history of the Navy. They sending you to class, teaching you life skills of how to start a bank account, how to tie knots, you name it. They're just teaching you all kinds of stuff. And everywhere you go, you're marching around the base. I'm talking about every day you're putting in miles on those boots. And you're wearing back then what we call dungarees, which is kind of like blue dicky pants and these long sleeve collar shirts. And you wear this hat around the base that shows you're a recruit. And you're marching around everywhere, you're singing and singing cadence and marching. And me, I was the guide on. So usually the guide on is the person that carries the company flag, the division flag, let me say. And it shows what division you are. And usually they give it to 2 of the most shortest people. And just so happen to be, this other guy. So it was there in boot camp by being in close quarters that I really realized that, hey, I'm on a ride. I'm going to have to get used to being in different cultures, ethnic backgrounds, belief systems, you name it. You learn it while you're in this room with damn near 100 guys. And privacy, oh my God, is no privacy. You're getting naked with other guys in the shower, and we had something that's called the car wash. Well, they say, hey, you got 2 minutes to shit, shower, and shave. And you have to run in there in the bathroom, and you literally have 2 minutes. And they're arguing and yelling. And if you're not out of there in 2 minutes, the people that's waiting, the other half of the people that's waiting, they're in push-up position, which they're trying to teach you it's a team effort that if you fail, everybody suffers from it. And that car wash system is just think about like a car wash while you're in the shower with all the shower heads. Let's say it's 8 shower heads, 4 on each side. You first go in, put soap on you, lather up, and by the time you walk around to all those 8 shower heads, you're being rinsed off, and you about to get out there and run and get back on the line. Also, it's boot camp. Navy boot camp is more mental than physical because they're doing a lot of stuff to just mess with you, just to get you and get to your head and just to show you that, hey, you're not in charge, we're in charge, and we're going to teach you structure and discipline. And if you don't listen, everybody's going to suffer. And what I mean by that is they give you tasks that they know that you can complete. just to punish you and make you do it multiple times. So it was literally days that we had to undo our bed and make it back up about 10 times. It was times where we spent hours cleaning up the compartment, which is the room you stay in, and then we left and went to lunch and came back, and it was like, oh, it was a hurricane in the room, and they just tore up the whole room and told us to clean all that shit up again. And you just sitting there like, bruh, like, are you kidding me? But again, it was that structure and discipline that they instilled in us that I keep with me in the patience to this time. So also, every day you're going to the drill hall. You're constantly drilling, because what you don't know, you're building up to something that's called pass and review, which is this routine that you're constantly learning over the weeks that you're there, that you perform at the end, which is the ceremony once you complete. So we went through all that. So, I pretty much had to suck it up and, make it happen, man. That's what, I learned I was built for it tough, because everybody didn't make it through. Some guys that they came back from their piss test that they popped positive, they left. There was some guys that was just crying and saying, I can't deal with this, I can't make it. And it was guys like me that just sucked it up and made it happen. So at the end, they keep building you up for, it's an event that's called Battle Station. Battle Station is like, for lack of a better term, it's like Hell Night, where they put you through a series of events throughout the whole entire night. And if you make it through, at the end of it, you get a ceremony that I remember to this day, where they give you your Navy hat, and now you're technically considered a sailor. And it's a very emotional ceremony, because it's just like, man, you just sit back and reflect of all the things you learned and did, and now you can officially call yourself a sailor. And I'll never forget that night, because you're only allowed to get 3 hits, and if you get your 3rd hit, that means that you failed, and you have to get pushed back and go through some more weeks of boot camp. And just my luck, I got 2 hits on the first 2 events. So, and let's just say, I don't remember, let's say it's like 15 events. That means I had to go through the whole rest of the entire night. And you start at like 7 in the evening, and you don't get done to like 7 the next morning. The whole rest of the night, without getting any more hits. And I remember just running, and I messed up my knee, and just like, man, God, please let me just make it through this. And, I made it through, and then the RDC, he joked with me. He was like, oh, man, I had me kind of worried there, Not only, I was worried you weren't going to make it, he was thinking like, damn, we're going to have to find another guide on. And we got pass and review. And I'm just having to myself like, bruh, for real, like, that's all you was worried about. But, lo and behold, I made it. So, come pass and review time, you're in this big auditorium, and you going through the ceremony, and you're in your dress whites, and you're looking over the crowd. So the whole time, I'm going through, I'm looking out at the crowd, you're looking for my family members and see anybody I see. So, I'm looking, I don't see anybody, I don't know who came or who wasn't going to come at the time. And so, we did the thing, did the ceremony, and then, I can't remember, the term is called Liberty Call, which means that you're done and you're able to spend time with your family, for the weekend. So I'm looking through the crowd trying to see, hey, is my mama here, is my daddy here, is my aunt here, is my sister here, anybody here. And then I spotted my auntie and my sister, and I admit to y'all, it was emotional. I cried because I was surprised that, they took the time out to come and see me, because again, I grew up in the hood. My family didn't have money like that to travel, but they was able to get the money up and take it out that time, and they came to see me. And I never forget it to this day. We hugged and we just helped each other, and it was an emotional event. So right then and there, that was my boot camp experience, and I'll never forget it. It was definitely a journey. I'm pretty sure some things unchanged about boot camp, over the years, but the overall goal is I'm sure still the same. Teach teamwork, and the motto of the Navy is honor, courage, and commitment. And it was definitely instilled with me, and helped set the foundation for what was to come.